We tend to have this this reactive quality to us that says, no, you know, this is, I don't want this. This is too scary. And I guess, you know, just following, you know, the what I'm saying, this reactive quality, this inability to, or desire to listen deeply to the feedback system that we're both surrounded by in the world, through the relationships to other people, through our own emotions, which are feeding back to us, but we tend to react to them, and the body system that we have that is feeding back to us, but we're caught in a kind of reactiveness to that, to those messages. It brings me, when I'm thinking in that kind of way, to the root of why we wouldn't want to listen to all of those messages. And I think the answer is fear. I think the answer is fear. If we listen to the messages that are coming through our emotions, they bring us to fear. They'll bring us to fear. They'll bring us to fear of what messages they carry. They'll bring us to fear of going back to the experience that we actually had when we were young, when we retracted for survival sake, for instance. Yeah, under duress, under panic, we retracted. And that fear is visceral. Fear is a visceral sense. Fear brings us to a fear, a visceral fear of our survival, fear of life, fear of death. And so it is when the outside world, which seems to, you know, harbor all sorts of insults, when the outside world comes at us, so too it brings us to fear, because it potentially threatens threatens the stability of the imagined self, stability of who we've built up ourselves up to be, whether that's good or bad, or you know, and we're happy with it or we're not happy with it. We build up the self that we carry around in the world, and then it gets challenged in many different ways, and it's frightening. But then we take that into the relationship with the body itself, the relationship of this very thing that gives us the incarnation. The emotions we can deal with, we can stay reactive for the rest of our lives. Other people, who gives a damn? We can be reactive to other people for the rest of our lives. But to be reactive and to not listen to the very vehicle, the very natural vehicle that carries around our essence or personality or whatever it is, the whole of our lives, again, it's possible and it happens, but it's such a limitation, such a compromise. That it's, I think, you know, that the invitation of this is to listen, is to develop the art of listening deeply to what's coming, what stories are still being held onto, what toxins are still being held onto on the physical, emotional, mental level. What is it that's being shown? What is it that the body is inviting? Can we meet that? Can we meet that? Look, I'm gonna I never even considered my body when I was young. It was a taxi that carried me from experience to experience. I abused it, drugged it, fed it toxic foods, and poisoned it with alcohol. But I never realized how much of my toxic load was emotional until it started, and I started to unravel. I never knew just how disconnected I was until I began to listen to its screams and hurts. And then slowly, over about 15 years, I came into my body, into my emotional center, into the clarity of mind, and into a kind of spiritual awareness. I call it harmony, a harmonization of what seemed and felt so separate and disconnected. Body, emotion, mind, and spirit are one, but that oneness is lost to us in the field of human conditioning, confusion, trauma, addiction, and identification with self. My own experience was that even the body wants to be included in the search for freedom,